I am increasingly convinced that no one actually has the ability to convince anyone else of anything. And weirdly enough, that's actually hope core. Because while I do believe it's possible for someone to be holding one position and then listen to someone say something and then hold another position, I don't think that that is someone convincing someone else as much as we might like to think that it is. I would argue that any person that changes their mind actually just reached a breaking point. Their lived experiences on the matter has reached a sum total required to get their mind to switch from what they were thinking and believing and how they operated in the world to thinking and believing new things and operating in new ways. And you can be part of that. Your lived experiences can be part of that. But the fact of the matter is, there is no real way to know when that point is going to be for anyone. Because all of the factors that set those limits in different people's heads are so vast and so varied and really depend on what mood they are in day to day. To say that anyone can intentionally convince anyone else of anything is kind of just fucking crazy when you think about it. Or at least when it comes to our sort of common idea of convincing. Like someone can have one position at the beginning of the conversation and someone has the other, and through conversation, one person switches sides. Again, while that may happen day to day, I think it has a lot less to do with the convincer as the convinced. Were they open to that idea in the first place, at least enough to think through what you are trying to tell them? Like, I may think I have the best way to cook eggs, but if my wife, who is in culinary school, were to tell me, oh, this is how you should cook eggs, I would probably just listen to her because it's not very important to me that my way of eggs is the best. I would just try the new way. That wasn't her convincing me, that was me being open to new ways of doing things for things that I didn't really care much about in the first place. But we can apply it to more important issues than eggs, right? Like, I spent most of my life thinking that I was absolutely a capitalist. I engaged in a capitalist system thinking that this is the best way to do things. Now, I had friends who were socialists, communists, and they were actively telling me for years and years that capitalism is bad and that we shouldn't engage in it. And I wasn't listening, not because their arguments weren't sound, but because I wasn't open to changing my mind about things yet. I needed to live longer and witness the failures of capitalism for myself to start to peel back the dogma around capitalism being the best thing ever. And the reality is, basically, every single person in your life that you disagree with works the same way. They need to see the failures of the systems that they are upholding for themselves, at least some degree more, until they are willing to listen to you. Now, that might sound like I'm saying that it's just hopeless, that there's no reason to try and convince anyone of anything, but that is not what I am saying. Well, not exactly. I do believe that we can all pretty much just stop trying to convince anyone of anything. We don't have to put the pressure and responsibility on ourselves to make other people change their minds because the factors that are keeping them from changing their minds are entirely outside of our individual control. That being said, everyone has their limit when it comes to being wrong. Personally, I fucking hate being wrong. And so anytime I think that I might be wrong, I try and switch my position as fast as I fucking can. But other people literally cannot conceive of the idea that they are wrong about a lot of the things that they have been taught over the course of their life. Those folks are going to require more time and more experience to see the error of their ways. But that doesn't mean just sit back and wait. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing anything to help them along. Because whenever someone starts to see the cracks in their belief system, they have a opportunity to listen to a new voice, to be swayed a different direction. And we want to make sure that we are there and available to be able to take those opportunities. We have to understand that just because the opportunity will present itself sooner or later, that doesn't mean that the opportunity is a done deal. Just because someone becomes open for a period of time to new ways of thinking does not mean that their old ways of thinking can't re solidify themselves. And they will re-solidify themselves if they don't know who to reach out to learn more about other ways of thinking. If they don't know who is presenting them with other options of seeing the world, then they will not talk to those people and they will not consider those other options, even in the face of immense suffering, which makes our job clear. We need to be presenting what we think and believe everywhere, all the time, loudly, proudly, making sure that every time someone reaches that point where they are open to new ideas, that they can reach out to us and get that information. They can get that perspective. Which, yes, does also mean that we have to make sure that we know our shit. We have to be reading and researching and talking and communicating and training and learning everything there is to learn to make sure that we have the information that they are looking for to realize that their old way of thinking is not for them anymore. But the reason why all of that adds up to Hope Core is because that is immensely in our control. You have the ability to continue to learn. You have the ability to continue to speak up. And you can trust the fact that if you are doing those two things consistently, you will make the difference that you are wanting to see in the world. It just may not be one specific person at any one specific time. But if you are out there, if you are communicating, if you are connecting, you will sway masses. So take the night, read a book, and then get the fuck out there and sway them.